Hey guys, Gosei here, and welcome back to another overview, this time instead of a review. Today we're going to take a look at the DX Megalodon Vistamp from Kamen Rider Revice. Now, if you remember way back in 2020, where I took a look at the Peter Fantasista Wonder Ride book last August, I gave my overall thoughts on it and basically hyped up and said that I was basically hyped for the Saber toy line. And I figured with tradition, I might as well take a look at the first gimmick that was released for this year's toy line, or next year's toy line, because it's a long ways until September for the Revice stuff to come out. But at any rate, let's go ahead and just dive right in. And I figured, since I did this last time, I figured why don't we just take a look at the box, because my motto is that if you've done a review of the box, you've done a review of them all at this point. So yeah, let's just go ahead and take a look at the initial box. So this is a look at the boxes. They're pretty small in my personal opinion, because the backside is much to be desired, but we'll get to that in a minute. But at any rate, so as you can see right here, each one comes with this like little neat green and like light blue sort of outlining for the name of it. Of course, on the bottom, in typical Rider fashion, we get the name of the gimmick in Romanization English, Bandai seal of approval, lights and sounds, which is something that we haven't seen since 2019, so it's nice to see that famous little disc again. And here we have the updated 50th Rider logo with the Revice symbol in the center instead of the saber one. And of course, it also says here Revice Megalodon genome transformation, saying that basically you could just do this too. You get your obligatory product shot, and of course you do get the image of both Revi and Vice in the Megalodon forms. Like I've already said in my overall thoughts video of the show and all the toys so far, I do love the look of the form itself. It's very classic and iconic, but it also keeps itself from not being too Legend Rider gimmicky, because with the decayed armor, it was just Geo, but with a really largely inspired decayed armor. But this time around, we're actually getting Rider motifs incorporated into the Revice design, but without the Revice design changing that much. And here we have my boy Vice just chilling with that little shark hat right there. Rider logo right there. On the side of the box here, it says here you can use this for the Revice driver right there. It says you can hit the button for lights and sounds and use the stamp for other actions. DX Vice stamp series. Toei seal of quality, which is normally on the front of the box, it's not normally on the sides, which is a little bit weird. On this side of the box here, it says here you can collect all of the Vice stamps as well and use them with the driver, with Revice holding the the Megalodon Vice stamp, which is nice because with all the boxes, he will be holding the designated Vice stamp with that in his base form, this being Rex Genome. On the back of the box, obligatory copyright information. And of course on the top here it says, it gives you the basic instructions on what you're going to do with it. You can slam it down, open it up like that. On this side here, you get your obligatory transformations, final attacks, and of course the remix, which we will be taking a look at once we get our hands on the Revice driver. And of course on the bottom of the box, obligatory copyright informations. This segment has gone on long enough, and you already know my despise for these things, so watch it go. And here we have the Megalodon Vistamp. And overall, the size was actually not what I was expecting. And here's the thing. I was expecting these things to be a lot bigger than the initial images we're leading on to. So, just for a general idea, here it is in the common hand. It's honestly not that big comparing it to other gimmicks we've had before. For comparison, here it is with a Wonder Ride book. As you can see, the size is roughly like 2 inches taller than the Wonder Ride book. I mean, like, lengthwise, roughly the same size because of the bottom stamp part. But yeah, other than that, though, there's really nothing much else to write home about here. But taking a closer look, though, you do get this sort of light magenta-esque color that is in transclear plastic, so you can see the inner mechanisms of the Vice stamp, especially this little section right here for the stamping gimmick. On the front here, we get this beautiful metallic green image of the Megalodon form, and funnily enough, this is actually as a separate piece of plastic. So essentially, there's the base plastic, the front plate, and this thing that's all holding it together. And of course, like with typical rider gimmicks, or in this case, the typical Vistamp thing, you do get the silhouette of the rider on the background of the animal. And I thought this little section right here where my thumb is was actually like a little scratch in the plastic, but no, that's actually Decade's little gem there, the little yellow dot that nobody really pays attention to that much. But at any rate, though, the general aesthetic of the Vistamp is actually really good. You get this sort of dual, like, not dual molded plastic, this sort of, like, ink injected plastic that sort of has this, like, marble molding detail to it, and it's actually really nice throughout the Vistamp. I mean, it's not on the sides, it's not really on the top. I mean, it's not really, like, visible on the front here because you get the, like, little blue streak, but if you move it around, you do get this, like, lovely little flavoring of blue all throughout the overall Vistamp. Even on the button, it's nice. While we're on the subject of the button, I was expecting it to be a lot more concave because fiddling with this thing with the tab still inside of it, there's really not much deeping. I mean, it doesn't go in that deep. It's like a little, like, mini press. It's sort of like the progress keys use essentially for the buttons placement, for the button placement. I wish it was a little bit deeper because you are going to be hitting your finger a lot on the button and everything. But yeah, you get your basic goodness when it comes to these gimmicks. You get these, like, little track pieces so that way you can fit in the driver, your general speakers, which are on the sides of it, which your hand does cover up, but I can understand that because, I mean, where else are you going to put it? Anyway, your obligatory battery compartment, tab, because these things don't have on and off switches, cover for battery cover. We have the reset button, or in this case, the button that's supposed to be used for the driver, because I don't think anybody's found a purpose for this button yet. You got your QR code 2587260 for anyone who's interested in collecting all that. And of course, on the bottom, here's the main attraction for the Vistamps, this being the actual stamp part. And of course, that blue lining does continue on to the bottom, like that. And of course, these things are magnetic. I mean, essentially, the Revice driver has like little wonder pad sort of thing. Some reviewers did stick this stuff onto their fridges. I'm not going to do that because it might mess up the plastic of it. I mean, hell, placing it on the table is probably going to mess up the magnetic ideal of it, because I'm hoping these things don't get scratched up, because if you rub it on a table, it might get a little scuffed up. But at any rate, now they got all of that away, let's go ahead and remove the tab and check out the sounds. Here we go. A bright ass LED light, because that was surprising how bright these things are. And comparing these to, like, ride watches and stuff like that, the lights on those are dim, but these ones are bright as heck, and it actually helps that the plastic sort of helps out with that. So here's the close-up. You don't get any other sounds when you hit the button on top of it. You just get the generic Megalodon thing. And of course, the next course of action is to also stamp this thing down. So essentially, when you do stamp it down, you just get your generic sounds. So you can do that as many times as you want. And as you can see, I accidentally triggered the transformation, because here's the thing. So basically how it will work in the Revice driver is if you press it down all the way, you get your generic stamping sounds. But when you press it down halfway, it actually does trigger the sound effects. So let's do that again. And essentially, you can cancel that out by hitting the button or just stamping down on it again. But essentially, when you push it halfway, I can assume when it reaches the halfway point, that's when it's going to touch the LED. The little screen on the Revice driver. So that will essentially trigger the sound effects and everything like that. And when you slot it in and twist it, it's going to activate the sounds emitting from the Vistamp and the driver itself. So that's actually kind of neat engineering, and it's a lot easier, and it's probably going to be a lot harder to hack than most gimmicks these days. Because I remember back when the Wonder Ride books came out, people were assuming that this button right here was going to activate like a secondary sound or whatever. But little did they know that the actual sword driver itself had all the sounds. These are just additional noise makers. So essentially, I think every other rider season, these things are going to have the sounds, and the drivers are just going to add additional noises. So that's a plus side in of itself. Now, as it stands for right now, I will be picking up the Revice driver just to test it out and see if I actually do like it. I mean, opinions on the show, I have some expectation of it because this is a new Reiwa. I mean, this is like another anniversary season Even though it feels like we haven't left Geo yet, but even still, I have hopes for it, and I do hope that the show will excel. As far as the toy line goes, it's fun. It's addictive a little bit. Can't wait to collect even more of the Vistamps and waste more money on this than I did with Saber's initial toy line. But with all of that being said, though, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you like content like mine, feel free to drop a like and subscribe to the channel for more content. And, of course, let me know in the comments below what you think of this video, so on and so forth. And join me next time when we take a look at the boy. Also this too. Gosei 90, signing out.